Hey guys, it's Brichette with San Diego Seed Company, and today I'm going to answer a question we get all the time, and that's about what do you overwinter? How can you overwinter plants? Why would you not want to? We're just going to talk a little bit about overwintering in general, but before I jump into that, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you love the content that we put out. So let's jump into it. So, can I overwinter my plants? Should I overwinter my plants? There's a lot of nuances to that question, but I'm gonna kind of run through my thought process when I think whether or not I wanna overwinter a plant. Now, when we're talking about vegetables specifically, vegetables grow best when they're grown in their appropriate season. So cool season plants like cool weather and moisture and shorter days. Warm season plants like longer days and warmer temperatures. So a plant, when it is overwintered, like a tomato, for example, it's not gonna thrive as much as it would if it was grown in the summertime. Does that mean that you can do it? Yes, you can. So a very famous or popular example is tomatoes. So we can actually perennialize tomatoes here, which means we can grow them year round. That's in zone 9 and 10. Mostly zone 10, but also in zone 9. But I don't always recommend doing it. So the things you wanna think about is my plant thriving? Is it actually giving me enough produce that it is worth leaving in the garden? Do I need that space for something else? Also, a really important thing to ask yourself is it diseased? Is it harboring a bunch of pests that's gonna hurt the rest of my garden? If it is, I'd rip it out. As a general rule of thumb, here in zone 9 and 10, cherry tomatoes overwinter the best, and that's because they're smaller, they don't need as much energy to produce a massive tomato, and so we've got this nice little cherry tomato fence basically, and I'm gonna leave it because I don't need the space. I love having a few cherry tomatoes to pop on my winter salad, and it's a very healthy looking plant. It's not diseased, it's not covered in pests. It really is looking good. So that's part of the decision process on me leaving this guy in the garden. Now let's talk about if you're in a colder climate. These questions might change. If you get a freeze, you may not be able to overwinter plants in your garden because the freeze will kill them. You can use products like row cover, which we've talked about in tons of our other videos, to cover up your plants and protect them from freezes so that you can overwinter them. If you're going to overwinter a plant and you're in an area that gets cold during the winter, consider overwintering plants that enjoy cool or cold soil. Things like celery, for example. Celery can very easily overwinter because it can really stand colder temperatures. As long as you use mulch and you make sure that you're adding tons of compost to keep the soil really warm and biologically active during the wintertime, and you cover it with row cover, then you absolutely can overwinter it. Onions are another really good one. So the term overwintering, it's a broad term, and so for something like garlic here in zone 9 and 10, you do overwinter it always because you plant it in October, it grows through the winter, and then you get your bulbs in the following summer or spring. So another important thing to think about when you're overwintering is whether or not to cut back your plants. Here in zone 9 and 10, a lot of times we will chop back our plants, like a good example that I'm standing right in front of. This is milkweed. We cut this back during the fall, and then it overwinters and it grows new growth through the winter, and then we get more blooms in the spring. We do that to protect the monarch population. Something like a pepper, you can cut that back, and as long as it's not below freezing and the temperatures are not harsh, you'll actually see new growth from it, and it will spring new growth when the temperatures get warmer, and you'll actually get a whole nother bounty of peppers come next spring. So you got to think about how the plant grows, if it's going to be happy, if you have the space, if it's healthy. All of those factors should go into your thought process of whether or not you should overwinter something. Now, I'm a big advocate for having a fall and winter garden, especially here in zone 9 and 10. People tend to forget about it and think, oh, gardening season's over. That is not true. Here in San Diego, we can grow 365 days a year, and I recommend that you do it. It's one of the reasons why we live in paradise. Whatever your decision is, just remember you're in the garden to enjoy yourself and be in touch with Mother Nature, and we hope you enjoy every moment of it.